Blake from Yamaha here on Synthtopia with the new YC61, all new for NAMM 2020. So the YC61 is a stage keyboard. It's an organ-focused stage keyboard though. As you can see, if you look over here, there's a whole organ section that we've added to this instrument. Very cool. It actually has some neat design cues. Like for example, you have 7 different drawbar colors back behind here. So you can see between upper and lower manual, I have different colors. It's really slick. You have control over the rotary speaker right here. You have on and off, fast, slow. You can assign different controllers to control the rotary speaker. You could put a foot controller if you wanted to. So if you want to keep both hands on the keyboard, you can engage it that way as well, which is very cool. I'll just kind of do a little quick overview and then we'll kind of listen to it. In the middle is the live set sound area. This is just like on the CP7388 where we soar and recall any of the front panel settings with the push of a button, which is very cool as well. As you go over into the middle, you have a keys A and B section. So keys A, keys B, you could split and layer these two. You have several different categories in here. Piano, electric piano, synth, and others. So there's lots of cool stuff in here. There's a new mono mode in this instrument, so it works as a great lead synth. Speaking of lead synth, you have EG and filter control, single knob that has some preset things. The idea behind this instrument is to keep you in the music, to have a very quick one-to-one interface so you don't have to do a lot of menu diving, which is really important when you're on the gig where you don't want to be worrying about, all this stuff. So we have some really kind of nice controls to allow you to kind of interface with the keyboard live. Both of these key sections also have 2 different independent insertion effects. There's up to 9 effects simultaneously you can have going on this instrument all the time. So great effects on board. 32 different effect types in each one, everything from very conventional effects to more kind of esoteric, interesting, lo-fi kind of effects. There's a slicer effect in here. There's a ring modulator in here. So again, if I hit keys A and I go to keys B, turn this on, you'll notice that these change because there's separate effects for each of the keys sections as well. And then over here you have an extra effect. I like to call this the utility effect. This is an effect that I can point at different, wherever I want it. If I want it on an organ, let's say I want to have a delay sound on the organ, I can put it there. Let's say I have phaser and compressor maybe on the keys A, but I just want to have a delay on it as well. So I can point it there. There's also a cool looper delay in here as well that I can do the looping kind of things and play over the top, which is pretty slick. And then over here, the speaker app section, that's where we have the 2 new rotary effects. There's a rotary A and rotary B. Rotary A is kind of a conventional rotary speaker effect. It's all fully, completely editable. Rotary B is like, a different type of rotary speaker with a transistor preamp. So it has a little bit different drive sound, a little bit different everything. So I would use rotary B maybe for a rock kind of thing or anything I need a little bit more grit. You also have some amplifier models. Lead, crunch, and double are different just amp simulators. So if I want to do something like a rock organ sound where I may not be using the rotary speaker, but I just want to rack it through a big stack of speakers, I can run it into the lead sound, and that works pretty well too. You have a reverb with separate sends for each of the sections, and then master EQ. So that's kind of the front panel over here. Let's check out how it sounds here. So I'll just start out with just the H1 there. For the H1, for the organ section, there's 3 H models, H1, H2, and H3. Each one is a little different kind of flavor. Like one will have a little bit more leakage, one will have a little bit just kind of different things. So it's almost like H1 would be the one that comes in the perfect condition. H2 would be one that maybe has been sitting out in the bar for a while. H3 is, again, they're all just kind of different things. So we'll start out with just the H1 here. And I have a lot of drive in here, so let me pull this back. Actually, I'm going to recall my live set setting since I was messing with it. So I have different settings for upper and lower manual. So if I have so, you know, nice tone, kind of, you know, that sound. So I want to show some stuff with the rotary speaker real quick. I'm going to drop into the sound setting here, organ settings, sorry, rotary speaker settings. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to engage background noise. So I'm going to turn it way up here so it's kind of unnatural. But check this out. This is just part of the VCM modeling of the rotary speaker. You speed it up. Now if I stop it, you'll notice that it comes around and it might stop here. Speed it up again, and I hit stop again, and it stops in a different position. So it really does a great job modeling the real thing. This is part of the sound of that vintage organ. Now I usually bring it back a little bit, but I like to have it in the sound a little bit because it is that authenticity that you want. Another thing that when I do things like palm slides, I'm not hurting myself because we have an all new waterfall key bed in here too. So the waterfall key bed also has kind of a little bit of a weight behind it, so it's great to play pianos with it. But when I play it, another thing, when I do these palm slurs and I kind of engage volume, that kind of, you notice how it really hits. It's got this kind of hitting sound. That's because one of the things that you can do with this is if I go into the sound area, the organ settings and expression type, you notice the expression type that I'm using the pedal is drive plus volume. So as I hit the volume, it also increases the preamp. And I get this kind of, it gives it that perfect sound that you want when you really want it to hit. That is like that vintage organ sound. So H2, in fact, the best way to show the H1 and H2 is I'll go into leak level settings. So here's H1. I'll go to the upper manual, a little bit of, now if I increase leakage is where, you know, the sounds from the different tones kind of leak into one another. I'm trying to say this in the right way, so, but listen when you hear it, you hear that upper harmonic. Okay, now if I go to H2, it has a different kind of setting in here for that. Way more leakage in that one. So that's kind of one that's kind of been sitting around for a little bit while. It has a characteristic to it. And then I go to H3, totally different. And obviously I can adjust all that stuff, so I can customize from there. Next one, is the F1 organs. There's F1, F2. Those use 8-operator FM synthesis. F1 is just a kind of a pure sine wave organ. And the thing that's cool about these organs is that they have this really nice low end to them because they don't have fold back, so you don't have the octave repeating as it moves up. So these great but it still has that you know, organ sound, I guess. The rotary speaker really adds to this sound quite a lot too. F2 is like a British transistor organ. F3 is more like an Italian transistor organ. Sound really good with the amp simulator if I take off the rotary and I use it. Really nice, authentic transistor sort of sound on that. Now I'll move along to the keys section. Again, this is why we do call it a, you know, an organ focused but stage keyboard. So you have these great pianos, and I'm going to sit for this one a little bit. So the first piano you'll hear here is the Cfx Piano. Great piano inside. You have 3 different grand pianos. The S700, which is a nice piano. I use this a lot in ensembles. And then the C7's in here as well. So great pianos that are in this instrument as well. Move on to some of the time pianos. Again, I have different things. Right now I have a compressor on, but I can easily turn on something like a phaser. This one's the 67 Dark, so this is kind of the most vintage one. But I can easily switch that to maybe something like, here's more of a modern kind of time piano. Again with a phaser. There's also reed pianos in here as well. So lots of different sounds in here. I'll move over to some pad sounds. Another thing is it's cool, single knob filter. So there's 8 different filters that have different resonant curves and stuff. But the idea is having a single knob to move the filter, so you don't have to think about doing everything. You just want it brighter, you have one knob to do it, keeping you kind of focused on the music. It's getting loud in here. So, you know, that's kind of it in a nutshell. There's great effects in here. If you want to see some more stuff, there's an article that's on YamahaSynth.com that has a complete overview of the instrument along with some audio files and stuff. But it's definitely super cool. It weighs literally 16 pounds, very, very lightweight. It's also an audio and MIDI interface to the computer, so you can use it to play virtual instruments or play back files and things like that, and MIDI. Everything on here is automatable and assignable in DAWs. It's actually a great controller. Dom Sigalis just did this really cool video where he automated the drawbars in time with the music. It's really cool. And when you have the colored drawbars here, it's you know, it's a cool instrument for that. So it's kind of a different way to use it. But that's basically the YC61 in a nutshell. Thank you very much for watching. This is Blake from Yamaha. Have a good one.